What is going on, guys? This is Crowzen and welcome back to another BG3 build. This time we are going to take a look at the magic archer, which I call the Spellbow. It's basically a spell sword build, but without the swords we're going to be using bows instead. So it's a full-on archer slash spellcaster build. And we get a lot of cool features from being a swords bard like the flourishes, but we get a lot of other features that a full-on bard would not be able to get. So we could learn all different types of spells through scrolls, but we can also cast quicken magic or any kind of metamagic from the sorcerer class and be able to cast 2 spells in one turn or cast a spell and use your flourishes in one turn. So it makes for a very creative and unique playstyle, and I think you guys are really going to love this one. So let's get into making a magic archer. Starting with our ability points and our starting class, we are going to want to start with a fighter, and the main reason is they will give you proficiencies with bows, which we otherwise could not get with this build. And then we also want to get the archery fighting style, which will give us a +2 bonus to our ranged attack rolls, which means that we are going to be way more accurate with our bow, which is pretty huge at level 1. So for our ability points, dexterity is going to be our main stat here. What I would recommend that you do is go with 17 dexterity if you have the hag's hair. That way, one ability improvement feat will get you to 20 dexterity. Otherwise, if you do not have the hag's hair, then maybe start with 16 dexterity and then wait until Act 3 and you will be able to get 20 dexterity that way. But in all other cases, if you have the hag's hair, just go with 17 dexterity here. 16 charisma, that's all we are going to need for a spell casting stat. We are going to get the spell difficulty class and also the spell attack rolls throughout our gear, so we won't really have to worry about missing out on 20 charisma or plus. And then intelligence and wisdom, we could just keep those down at 8. As you see, we are going to be wearing the warped headband of intellect, which you get at the very beginning of the game, and that is going to give you 17 intelligence, which means that we are going to basically have 2 spellcasting stats here that are going to be pretty even. And then also 14 constitution, that's all you're really going to need with this build. And then I just go for 10 strength in order to not have a negative in any kind of pushing or shoving, and then also just having that extra carry weight here. For skill proficiencies, you want to go with athletics and intimidation, and that is how we are going to start our character. So now that we're level 2, we can map out our character path all the way up to 12, and there's really 2 ways to do this build at this point. If you want the basic way, all you need to do here is go for Fighter 2, get Action Surge, and you are going to get more burst on that single turn, but you're going to miss out on everything that the wizard has to offer, meaning all different types of spells that you can learn, and I really wouldn't recommend that. But again, you could definitely get by with doing that with this build. Now, if you want the more creative way, and a way that you could really mix and match all different types of spells and have something creative for yourself here, I would go with a 1 level dip into wizard. If you get the warped headband of intellect early on in the game, which you should, then you will have a viable spellcaster here right at level 2. So we get 3 cantrips. What I would do here is I would go for Firebolt, I would get Shock and Grasp, and I would get Minor Illusion. For these spells, I would recommend that you get spells that are going to be super useful early on, and that will be Magic Missile. You can also cast a decent spell here with Chromatic Orb. Grease, I would also go with Shield. Shield is going to be useful for throughout the whole game here. And then you could also go for other moves here like Thunder Wave and Find Familiar, so that way you could get like a Raven that can get you blind and get you advantage that way. I wouldn't worry about the ritual spells here. We're going to save that for the bard, so that way those spells are always prepared and you don't have to worry about trying to select your 4 different spells that you're going to have with this build once you get the headband of intellect. So now that we're level 3, we don't really want to waste any more time at this point. We have to multi-class into a bard. So a bard will get 2 more cantrips. I would just go with Vicious Mockery and then also pick up either Friends or Light here. And then for the 4 spells, You can never go wrong with Healing Word. It is a nice range healing spell that's only a bonus action, and you could pick up your down allies with that, so that's always useful to have. I would also go with Long Strider here, and then also go with Speak with Animals. And then for the last one, I could recommend Fairy Fire here, so that way you could get advantage to anyone that is inside of that cone. For the starting instrument, this is all up to you, but I prefer the lute. And then for abilities, just go with Persuasion for your skill proficiency. So now our goal is to continue leveling up a Bard until we get to Bard level 6 and we get that extra attack. So at Bard level 2, we get an additional spell. You have a few options here between Cure Wounds, Dissonant Whispers, or Feather Fall. I would choose Feather Fall here, that way this will always be prepared and you don't have to worry about mixing and matching this with your wizard spell slots. At level 5, you get to select your Bard subclass, and we want to go into College of Swords. You do get another fighting style, but I really wouldn't worry too much about either one of these. You could just select whichever one you want here. And then for the additional spell, I would go with Hold Person, as that is always nice to have. At level 6, you get your first feat, and you have two options. You could either go for Ability Improvement and stack up your dexterity, or you could go for Sharpshooter. And I would recommend Sharpshooter, especially around this level in the game. Level 6, you should be in Act 2 or near Act 2, and you should be close towards getting the Risky Ring, and that's going to give you advantage on all of your attacks, and that's going to pair up really well with Sharpshooter. For the additional cantrip, just go with Mage Hand here, and then for the additional spell, I would go with Cloud of Daggers, as you could set this up at a nice choke point and you can run all the enemies through there. So I think that's a pretty neat thing to have with an archer. At level 7, we get another spell with Bard level 5, and I would go with Glyph of Warding here. This will be a nice AoE spell, and it's basically like a poor man's Fireball, but you will have access to Fireball with the wizard anyway. But in any case where an enemy is resistant to fire, that is where Glyph of Warding will come in handy, because you can use all different types of damage with this spell. Level 8 will be our last Bard level, which we will unlock the extra attack with, and we also get one extra spell. I would go with Plant Growth here, as this doesn't require concentration and you can slow enemies down with this. Now that we're level 9, we have one more multi-class that we need to do, and at this point we are going to put the rest of our levels into a sorcerer. So for the subclass, I would go with the Draconic Bloodline, and for the Dragon Ancestor, go with the White Cold version, as this will give you Armor of Agathis, and there are no scrolls for Armor of Agathis, so you can't learn this from a wizard, so you have to go with a sorcerer and learn it this way. Now for the cantrips, we basically have every cantrip at this point, so I would just go with the ones that you do not have. So Bone Chill, Ray of Frost, Light, and Poison Spray, and then we get 2 spells. Now I would pick up Shield here again, and I know it's not saying that we have Shield learned, but we do because of the Wizard class. But if you get Shield here, it will always be prepared, and that way it'll free up another slot that you can learn something with the Wizard class on a scroll, and I would recommend that you do it that way and keep Shield on the Sorcerer side. So go with Shield here, and then we could also go for Enhanced Leap, as this will just give us some nice utility. Sorcerer level 2 will give us another spell, and at this point you probably have a lot of these learned from scrolls, as they're only level 1 spells. I would recommend just going for Magic Missile, that way this will always be prepared and it'll free up some other spots for Wizard Scrolls. And then for the class passives, I would go with Twin Spell and Distance Spell for the metamagic. At level 11, which will be Sorcerer level 3, we get another spell. You have to go with Misty Step here, as having this always prepared is going to be a lifesaver for you. And then we get another class passive, and we get the main one here, which will be Quicken Spell, which we can cast a spell as a bonus action rather than an action, and it only costs 3 sorcery points, and you can easily restore sorcery points in this game. You could even restore them while you're in combat as a bonus action, so you can get Quicken Spell multiple times in a single fight that way. And it's just a shame that it takes us level 11 to get this, but you got so many cool combinations that you can do here. Combinations that I probably don't even know about that are so cool that, you can cast your spell as a bonus action and then use your flourishes as an action. So you can do a spell and then 2 flourishes, which would be a total of 3 attacks in a single turn. You could also just cast 2 spells and, cast 2 fireballs in a row. I mean, you could do all types of cool things with this. And yeah, it's just a shame. Like I said, level 11, I really wanted to get this earlier with this build, but this build comes online earlier than this. This isn't really the main concept around this build, but it really enhances our build big time though. And at level 12, which will be Sorcerer level 4, we get another cantrip. Just go with Acid Splash here. And we get another spell. This spell is really up to you, whichever one you find the most useful. I just went with Scorching Ray for my spell. And then for the feat, go with Ability Improvement and raise up your Dexterity. Assuming that you have the Hag's Hair, this will be your 20 Dexterity here. Otherwise, you will have 18 Dexterity and you will have to wait until Act 3 in order to get to 20 Dexterity. Next up is our gear setup, and there's really only one goal in mind here, and that is to improve the accuracy of your spell attack rolls, your attack rolls, and also your spell difficulty class, because we don't have a huge amount of charisma or intelligence, so we have to get the spell difficulty class and the spell attack rolls through our gear instead. And that's really what we do here. So Warped Headband of Intellect, this is just so that way we get 17 intelligence. That is going to be our wizard spellcasting stat. Never take this off and try to cast wizard spells that do damage, otherwise you're not going to have a fun time. And then Cloak of the Weave, +1 bonus, spell save difficulty class, and spell attack rolls. The Yuan T Scale Mail, +1 bonus to initiative rolls. Any medium armor will do here though. Helldust Gloves, +1 bonus spell attack roll, spell save difficulty class. Also, we get some additional fire damage for our weapon attacks with our bow. Evasive Shoes for the +1 bonus to armor class. Any boots will do here though. Then Amulet of the Devout for the +2 bonus to spell save difficulty class. Risky Ring for the advantage on all of our attack rolls, going to pair up really nicely with Sharpshooter. We do receive a disadvantage on saving throws, so this really isn't ideal if you want to use any kind of concentration spells. In that case, you may want to use Amulet of Greater Health. That way it will kind of counter the negative effect of Risky Ring. Otherwise, you may just not want to use Risky Ring at all with this build. So it's really up to you, but I don't really try to focus on concentration spells with this build. So then we're also going to go with Caustic Band here for the +2 acid damage with every weapon attack. The Deadshot Bow for improved critical and also keen attack, which will give us a proficiency bonus with our attack rolls. And then also Drake Throat Glaive. This is mainly to buff up our bow. So what you want to do is make sure that your bow is out. So just go ahead and get your bow out like this. Use the Draconic Elemental Weapon, and you can use any type of weapon damage here, or elemental damage. So I'm just going to go with Lightning here. And now you get a cool little buff on your bow, and you get extra damage, and you also get extra attack rolls. I believe it's a +1 attack roll, so it's just going to give you better accuracy as well. Now that's as far as I go, but you can also take the glaive off after you buff up the bow and put on a shield, put on a weapon, and then you get all kinds of different bonuses with not only the shield, like Ketheric Shield here, +1 bonus to spell save difficulty class, spell attack rolls, and you get really good bonuses with a weapon. Now, totally up to you. It's a bit tedious doing this every long rest though, so I tend to just keep the glaive on and just call it a day that way. And then the last thing I want to discuss is just the wizard spells and how you learn them. So just go over here, learn more spells, and now you have access to all of your scrolls. And I guess for this one, we'll just go with Cloud Kill and Disintegrate. So we'll just go with both of those. You learn them, and now they are here in your wizard slots, and then just go ahead and activate them. And we're just going to activate the other ones too. So now you guys can see we have some pretty cool spells here. It's like Cloud Kill. So all different types of cool things you could do here. Just make sure that whatever you do not take the headband off, because that is going to scale with intelligence. So for the last part of this video, I'm just going to showcase a basic fight using the Magic Archer. And the good news is that you're almost always going to start first with this build. And that means that you can get some really nice AoE attacks before the enemies start to scatter. So in this case, we could get 2 nice AoE spells on the first turn. So let's go ahead and use an Ice Storm. And let's cast that like right here. So now we can use a Fireball. And I'm going to take the Quicken spell off, and might as well just explode this barrel while we're at it. And yeah, that just did a hell of a lot of damage for a first turn. And then we're still not done. We do have a Water Myrmidon as well, thanks to Conjure Elemental. Just another nice thing that this build can provide later on in the game. So we're going to get some damage with that as well. So now it's our Water Myrmidon's turn, and what we can do here is just clean up. So I'm going to go and Elemental Warp over to here and just use Explosive Icicle on all of these enemies here. So let's try to get that going, and let's go here. And we got rid of 2 more enemies that way. This guy's still prone, so he's basically inactive. And yeah, that's not bad for a first turn. So now we're in turn 2, and we could basically just clean up at this point. So I'm going to go with a bonus action first, because if we're not going to be using our sorcery points, so if we're not using our metamagic here, or if we're not going to regenerate any more sorcery points, then we could use our bonus action for a whole bunch of things. We could either use it for healing, we could use it for Misty Step, or we could use it to coat our bow in an oil, toxin, or poison. So I'm going to go ahead and just coat my bow in just a Serpent Fang toxin, just for the hell of it. And let's go ahead and get some flourishes. So we're going to go here, and let's use a slashing flourish, and let's try to take out the enemies with the highest HP here. Let's just target both of them. And that's a nice little cool effect there. That's due to the lightning bow. So let's go ahead and do it again. Another slashing flourish here. This enemy has 9 health, so let's go for this one. So let's go back into a slashing flourish. Let's target that guy, and let's go back to this enemy right here. And we got rid of both of them. And now our Water Myrmidon should be able to finish the job here, hopefully. As long as he doesn't critically miss 3 times in a row. So let's go ahead and do that. And that is how you could just finish this fight pretty easily, and just all of the different variety that this Magic Archer can really bring. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Magic Archer, and this was probably one of my most fun builds that I've created. I just had a blast playing this. You know, it's like a full archer but a full spellcaster at the same time, and you get a lot more things than just going with a full-on bard too. You know, you get the metamagic here. You get 4 active spell slots with a wizard, and you can use basically anything up to a level 6 spell. It's just so awesome, and let me know what you guys think about this build, and give me some recommendations on other builds you want to see in the comments, and hopefully I see you guys in the next one.